think that the black Americans have been the only real diehard Americans here, because we're the only ones who carried the process through the process. That everyone else has to sort of like skip stages. We're the ones who marched, we're the ones who carried the Bible, we're the ones who carried the flag, we're the ones who tried to go through the courts. And being born American didn't seem to matter. Because we were born Americans, but we still had to fight for what we were looking for. And we still had to go through those channels and those processes.
I don't really care what you have to say. Facts over fiction is the motto replay. Muhammad Ali came up from the clay. Grassroots built up this USA. Now knowing your history, you'll get played. Equip yourself cause you came to slay any opponent that's up in our way. Look at Malcolm X and his deliberate.
What's up, family? Hope everyone is doing well. We got a lot to unpack today, so let's get through some of this housekeeping. And I guess we'll do quick intros because we do have a wonderful guest on as well. But my name is Jamoy with Even the Mass Media Group.
I am Kim with EMEN.
And I am Darlene with EMEN. And we thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. What's up, good brother Antonio Ray Harvey? How you doing, brother?
Good morning, family. Good morning to you all. Yes, greetings. It's good to be here on this Sunday morning. Busy week.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
brother
thank you
Antonio
all.
has
Kim,
been.
Darlene, and Amoya.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, brother Antonio. For those that don't know, he's been doing boots on the ground work at the Sacramento Capitol. So he's been doing great work. So we really appreciate your time and energy into this matter.
Real quick, Tony, since you're a Capitol correspondent, have you been noticing stricter restrictions for journalists at the Capitol this session?
Yes, I've been, and I'm also learning about some things that was going on in the past that led up to these restrictions as well, Kim. One of the things is, which I was trying to explain to Amoya early this week, reporters are not allowed on the Senate floor. They're not allowed on the Senate floor. Now, we can wait for the senators to come out of the Senate chambers and speak with them and interview them, but we are not allowed on the floor. They only have a couple of photographers that are allowed to roam the Senate floor in the chambers, but for whatever reason, reporters are not allowed on the floor. And that news was broke by Ashley Zavala for KCRA3, and she pretty much laid out the blueprint that how it was before COVID, that there were designated areas for the reporters to sit and view the proceedings in the Senate floor. But those spaces has been taken up by staff, maybe the lawmakers or the Senate Majority Leaders, staff, somewhere in that capacity. But this has been going on for the last 4 or 5 years. Before COVID, way back into like the 1800s, reporters in the Senate chambers were able to access the floor. So, as you probably noticed, in a lot of those proceedings, when you are sitting in the gallery, like the balcony area, if you would, per se. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting in there with the rest of the public. Every time that I go in there, I cannot bring my camera in there. Of course, we can all bring our cell phones in there, but I have to leave my cameras on the outside, and that's issued by Sergeant of Arms, security people, and now yes, we are able to roam the floor on the assembly floor. We are. Okay. Yes.
So it's just on the Senate side. Good.
Just on the Senate side.
Because you are a credentialed member of the press. We're still waiting to hear back on our credential request from ETN Media. So hopefully that will come through soon. So for some quick housing, and thank you for sharing that information, Tony, about the how they're making it stricter for people to report on activity on the Senate floor.
I know we all here all four of us sit here, we expect that the people that were elected in these spaces, positions, elected by the people, and represent a constituent of people across the state, that the fourth estate should be able to hold these lawmakers accountable at all times, and we should have the access,
Absolutely.
right? At least in terms of fair balance and truthful news, we need these spaces to do our job. So that's one of really the biggest concern with me, and I think there's a lot of concern with other people as well because, believe it or not, sports reporters were asking me about this, what was going on down there, and not getting access because we're used to getting access uh, when we know that we are able to get it. So this is a big concern for not only people who cover Capitol News, but everybody across the board as far as journalism. I just want to throw that out.
Well, thank you, and I know that you will stay on them, to get access to the information, and
Yeah,
we appreciate your work on that.
yeah. And I appreciate the work that you do, and I do hope that that's taken care of on the assembly side. I think the assembly speaker communication shop, they have to get you guys settled in so you be tapped into what's happening there, at least on the assembly side. Covering the state
Yeah,
capitol is all,
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's a lot
We'll
of
need to do
activities going on in and out.
some
Yeah.
follow up on that next week. So if you wanted to take it away with our housekeeping, so we can get into today's show.
Yeah, let's make it happen. reparationsnowdoc.com, reparationsnowdoc.com, also on Tubi. etmmediagroupstore.com. Go to etmmediagroupstore.com and you get the latest merch. Also, Coalition for a Just and Equitable California is available as well.
See, Jack. Also, Amazon affiliate link is available in the description for this show. Just click the link before you do all your Amazon shopping. Is one way to support the work we do here at ETM Media Group.
And this Monday, coming up March 31st, 2025 at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Emin the Mass Media Group. By the way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. We're going to have a great conversation with the Monterey County Green Party, y'all. The Green Party is going to be in the building. They're going to be talking about reparations, I guess kind of what their stance is on it. And they're also going to be having, Kim, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. Thank you. Going to having a virtual town hall. It should actually, the link should be in the description of this video. So you can go ahead, click on that link if you do want to join in that virtual town hall. That's on April 2nd at 6 p.m. on Zoom.
Yes, and it also looks like there's a QR code to the registration on this flyer here if you want to take a screenshot of that.
Just and quick note, it looks like the co-hosts are, I don't know if they're sponsors, I guess. It's going to be CJEC, the Monterey County Green Party, California, BlackAF.net, and CORE, the California Reparations organization, which is, people don't know, it's basically a coalition of people supporting lineage-based reparations.
All right. I am RSVP'd and looking forward to the town hall, virtual town hall. All right. So why are we here today?
So we're going to be talking about SB 437. We basically edited a few clips here, and we're just going to kind of give our response to it. We might have another guest that might come in or not. I don't know. But in the interim, let's go ahead. We're going to be playing a couple of videos. And if anybody in the comments would like to respond accordingly, go ahead.
And these videos are from the slide that we have up here from the session that just occurred for SB 437, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
All right, so I guess should we get into the videos
Or did you want to explain any of these two slides you have?
which ones? You know what? Let's get into the videos, and then maybe we'll go back to the slides. So if you want to keep this slide up while we're playing the videos, and then we can go back to those two slides.
All right.
And then at the end, before we get out of here, Kim, I did want to mention that we do have a video up that I do highly suggest people watch. And then I also want to talk about AB 1315 with Bill Saley and the status, but we'll get into that before we wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, family. So let's play the first video. This is Dr. Keela Weber Pearson, who's explaining the bill AB 347.
Hearing SB 437. SB 437 would help establish the eligibility criteria for claims related to genealogy and descendancy, utilizing the California State University to explore options to determine how to confirm if an individual is a descendant of a person who is a victim of American chattel slavery. This bill seeks to establish a clear, concise, and evidence-based process for individuals to verify genealogical ties and claim benefits or rights associated in regards to their ancestral heritage. In 2020, California enacted AB 3121, which established the Reparations Task Force to study and develop proposals for addressing lasting impacts of slavery and systemic discrimination against African Americans. The task force released its final report, highlighting significant disparities in economic, health, and educational outcomes due to historical injustices. Among its recommendations, the report emphasized the need of improved documentation and recognition of genealogical and descendancy claims to ensure access to reparative programs. However, unfortunately, the task force did not state how to determine a person's lineage. SB 437 builds on these findings by requiring the CSU to research and develop eligibility standards on reparative claims. Entrusting CSU with this process ensures expertise, integrity, accountability, and public oversight. Placing this process within a state institution also prevents data from being exploited for profit or misinformation. Recently, there have been concerns about private corporations potentially putting millions of people's sensitive genetic data at risk. In fact, Attorney General Rob Bonta has also raised privacy concerns around unregulated data collection. I understand that there have been concerns raised in regarding the start date, and I am committed to working with stakeholders to address these concerns to ensure that the bill is implemented in a way that is effective and feasible, and while also being responsive to the needs of the communities it aims to serve. The committee also mentioned the frequency of the CSU reporting of their findings. For a process as important as determining lineage, the frequency of reporting is necessary to ensure that we have an open and public process. Open communication with the California Legislative Black Caucus ensures that the public is kept up to date with the process and that everyone is held accountable. Moreover, determining genealogy is also very complex and evolving. Regular check-ins allow for adjustments based on new findings and best practices. SB 437 is supported by the Greater San Diego Urban League, Greater Los Angeles American Chamber of Commerce, Western Center on Law and Poverty, and numerous other advocacy groups and community members who recognize the importance of this bill.
All right, so before we give our 2 cents on that, let's play one video from Chris Lodgson, who made his opposition statement. And Chris Lodgson is one of the lead organizers for Coalition for Just and Equitable California. So let's go ahead and to see what he had to say.
Lead volunteer organizer and advocate with the Coalition for Just and Equitable California, the state's leading grassroots coalition born to achieve reparations for California residents who descend from people emancipated from chattel slavery. We're here today in respectful opposition to SB 437. Here's why. First, the proposal directly contradicts the recommendations of the California Reparations Task Force. The task force did not, and I repeat, the task force did not recommend that the state conduct additional research to determine how an individual might determine their descendancy from U.S. chattel slavery. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The proposal is unnecessary, redundant, raises serious risk of fiscal waste, would create crippling and cascading implementation delays, and was already rejected by community advocates. Specifically, it's unnecessary because tracing ancestry to U.S. chattel slavery is already a known practice conducted by genealogists literally every single day. It raises serious risk of fiscal waste because the research proposed directs millions of taxpayer dollars originally budgeted for reparations implementation to a multi-million-dollar genealogy research project with no start date and no end date to the research. It would create severe implementation delays because none of the other Black Caucus bills currently moving in the legislature targeting descendants can actually take effect until the proposed research project is completed. Furthermore, last year, this same proposal was rejected by community advocates and former Senator Stephen Bradford when Governor Newsom's office proposed nearly a carbon copy of what is now SB 437 as amendments to Senator Bradford's SB 1403. Lastly, the proposal in SB 437 conflicts with yet another one of Senator Weber Pearson's proposals, namely SB 518, and I'm happy to speak more about that in the Q&A. Senators, Californians whose ancestors built this country through hundreds of years of free labor are tired of research. We don't need more research.
All right, so I wanted to start out with those two clips so we can get a good context for those who have yet to see the hearing on SB 437. I do recommend that you actually watch the whole hearing. But yeah, so we wanted to at least go over those two. Now, Kim and Darlene, first of all, thank you for attending the hearing. So in terms of when you guys went, I can't remember, were there more people in opposition of the bill or for the bill who testified or gave their public comment?
I think it was more.
Oh, go ahead, Miss Darlene.
Well, I think it was more who actually went to the mic. It was more opposition, but they did have, support there.
Gotcha.
But they didn't necessarily go to the mic.
Well, I don't think there was more opposition to this bill. I know for a fact, well, because you clipped up the videos. So, and I was there. So we had about, I would say, 7, 8, maybe 10 people in opposition, and they had 2 in support.
Mm-hmm. But once we went outside, when we split camps,
that's the part.
Yeah,
because I didn't get in until late, but that was the part that got me, and I wouldn't say it was 50-50 because I didn't hear the hearing, the comments, public comment part section of it, because I was struggling with my allergies and I was late getting there. But that's the part that got me when we were outside of, and this was the education on committee hearing, folks. And at the end of that, at the end of those proceedings, the panel voted 5-2 in favor of SB 437. Just want to mention that. But I would say that in opposition was a little bit more louder, but that's just coming from my opinion. And of course I missed Kim and Darlene speak up on it and stuff, but I did like the presentation, and I did say I what was put forth by Chris Lodson, about this particular bill, because we all know about those particular this particular bill and the amendments that was added in the last legislative session. So those things had to be brought up. And what is really concerned to me, which I have to get more details on it, because you folks know, because you were there, everything that was going on with the California Reparation Task Force for those 2 years. You was at every meeting, and a lot of these lawmakers were not. So those are things that kind of concern me about these things, because we do know about these recommendations. I hope Camilla Moore is able to join us later so she can explain that part because I didn't understand that. And Chris did point out what page that specifically laid out what the recommendations were. Okay. And research, from my understanding, you can explain to me, was not mentioned. Another research was not mentioned after that.
No.
So-
And Tony, can I just interject real quick? I'm sorry, Maury. Is
Yeah,
that
go ahead, Ellen.
when you listen to the clip from her, and this is a small point but important, she references page 658, but she's holding the hard copy. But when you presented it, you correct at 636 if you're looking at the e-copy. You did have that down, but I just want our audience to know. If you hear her say 658, that's because she's referencing the hard copy.
Good point, Darlene.
Okay.
Actually, that's a good segue. We'll probably go into it, but actually, let me put it up here right now.
Yes. We have it here 636, which is fine.
So-
That's if you go to the website and look at the soft copy, e-copy.
Thanks for that, Darlene. But before that, because I don't want to forget this question. So, Tony,
Yes.
we attended the press conference with the CLBC. I don't know, it was a month and a half ago. So you asked a particular question that I think that was very poignant in terms of have they decided to, or did they choose yet a school that they're supposed to work with? Can you kind of further elaborate on that
Yes,
question and why you asked that?
Right. Part of this bill is one of the entities that will be doing the research would be from one of the 23 CSU campuses, California State University campuses. Senator Weber Pearson did mention that. She didn't say what campus, which university would conduct the research, but she did throw out a couple names. I believe there was one, the University of San Diego and Sacramento State University. And I've heard, about some other campuses that might be thrown in there. I'm not going to mention that right now because I haven't got the full concrete story on that. But they would be designated to do the 2-year study on these campuses. And now understand that leading up to August 31st, 2024, okay, that last week, which ends the legislative session, these amendments came out from the governor's office by way of the Department of Finance to do this study. Senator Bradford balked at it because he felt like it would gut the bill, and he did not want another study. We did study. The state did studies on this. It's time to roll with CAFA, the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency, which was also knocked down too. So this is where this is all lead up to. Whatever campus is chosen to do this study will receive $6 million. Now remember, there's $12 million on the table. Okay, and Memorial, you referring to is, I think it was February the 20th of last month. We're still in March, and we had that press conference in room 317 at the state capitol. And yes, the question was what was going to happen with the money. So we know $6 million will go to the CSU that is designated to do the study, open or ended, whatever, because there's no start or end date. And the other $6 million are still hanging out there in the balance. And that question was posed to CLBC too, but they haven't decided, at least that's what we're understanding, that they haven't decided what to do with the other $6 million. Remember, there's $12 million on the table, left over, for this budget. So that was the question, though. I've been hearing other things about which school that would conduct it, but not a full detail of a full scale of how it will be conducted. Are you going to let graduate students do this who probably do have, I don't think that would have a great knowledge of, what's going on here. We're just doing another study. Or are you going to let some expert genealogists do the study. All of that still has to be worked out. I think that's what Senator Weber Pearson was trying to point out, though. So we'll see what happens, with what would take place, with the CSU part end of it. But I do want to make this clear, and I'm saying this, as a fact, from my reporting and what everyone here knows, that is a recommendation that came from Governor Gavin Newsom administration by way of the Department of Finance. This was not included in the bill, the original bill that Senator Stephen Bradford had put forth. Okay, and he's still against this process too. There's another study. He just felt that another study, quote unquote, would just be kicking the can down the road.
Yes, we are all opposed. Now, Umoya, did you clip up a slide showing that the UC systems don't even have a official genealogy department? Any of them have an official genealogy department. So this is infrastructure that is going to have to be built up and established in the UC system. I mean, they might as well just build that infrastructure within the CAFA office. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, if you want, I could share my screen and ask GPT or Chat GPT.
But before you do that, you more excuse me. I wanted to go back to something that Tony mentioned about. He felt that the students, if from the CSU, would not be qualified to do the work, but it just says right here, and then of course I lost my spot. So establish process for conducting, verifying, doing research, confirm eligibility. Funding from subdivision. Then it says may be used to support student participation in support of this goal. So they could very well use students.
Yes, but look, if someone, Darlene, provide me a stipend for some graduate work, for my graduate study as well, because I would get credit, I'm going to do it, regardless of what I know about it. Okay, anything about this issue or reparations or civil rights or anything like that, I'm going to do it.
Show me the money.
But I'm not saying that they would not be qualified, but I don't think they would be suitable, appropriate to do a study, to do this type of study if there's going to be a study. You understand what I'm saying?
No, exactly.
That's what a genealogist. March 20, right before that vote on lineage-based and race-based. So we're talking about March 2022. Right before that vote, there were 10 or 11 genealogists that testified in front of the California Reparation Task Force. That was a virtual meeting, to be exact. I listened to that whole thing of how this could be done. Okay. How this could be rolled out by 10 or 11 genealogists who have did research, who have found lineage in their background that lead all the way back to slavery and beyond. I cannot think of the woman who lives in Berkeley. You probably know who I'm talking about. She spoke. Thank you, Miss Parrish. Right, extremely intelligent and knowledgeable of how to conduct these type of research, lineage-based research and stuff. So why are we going to deal with the university, the CSU system, whatever, of the 23 campus, and deal with students where there are already people in place? That's just my commentary. I just editorialized it on that. When they already have people in place, and most of them have testified during the 2-year study for the reparation task, through the reparation task force. So why would we go to this area?
Right, waste of time and money, like Chris
waste
said
of time and money. Thank you.
Testimony.
And that's just my commentary. That's just my editorial lies on that. That's just I'm not just coming from, because I've been reading through these things and I'm just trying to get an understanding that, because Chris Lodson, had appeared on KBLA radio about a couple weeks ago after the rollout of the CLBC package. I'm still going to call it reparation bills. And he had questioned some of the motives of how these bills, will be used, and that this particular bill, these two bills to be exact, 518 and SB 4337, were these, once again, they derive out of the governor's administration.
So let me play. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to play 2 videos because I think Dr. Weber, from her position, explained kind of how this supposedly is supposed to work. So I want to play that and then get our 2 cents on it. So I'm gonna play 2 videos. So let's
maybe that will add some clarity.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Task Force has recommended and what the bills do, since I've read the report and I'm the author of the bills. So the bill that is before you today will establish the process of how to determine one's lineage. It will do the research that was explicitly discussed in the task force language that I just read for you on how to determine one's lineage. Once that information has been determined, then that will be given to the genealogy division at the agency. And I stated that already, so that any African American or someone who believes they are a descendant, they might not even be African American because of what has happened during slavery, but they may have lineage to someone who was in chattel slavery, can go to the agency and say, I think I'm a descendant. The agency has the information on the ways in which they can then verify that through genealogical testing, and that's how it's done. Research was done to produce this report. As I stated in my opening, unfortunately, in this 1,100-page report, there was nothing that specifically outlined the exact way to accurately and evidence-based do genealogy. But what we do have in this report on page 658, when they talk about genealogy, is that we needed something to support potential reparation claimants by providing access to expert genealogical research to confirm reparations eligibility. This is what this bill does. It follows the recommendations from the task force by allowing the ability to figure out how we determine one's eligibility. Some people, like Senator Bradford, are very fortunate.
Okay, so that was according to Dr. Weber. Why this bill is necessary? Maybe it's me, and maybe Kim, Darlene, and Antonio, you guys can maybe give your 2 cents in terms of this process. But reading SB 437, I really didn't fully get that. I mean, I could be wrong, but
what didn't you get?
Well, I mean, I guess she further explained it, but I was in the bill itself. I know it was talking about conducting research, right? But in terms of explaining it in full detail, how it's going to work,
you got full detail explanation out of that? I mean, I still don't know how it's going to work.
Explain. And then she tried to clean it up.
That part hasn't been explained. That part.
No disrespect
to Senator Weber Pearson, but I guess you would have to read through these things and understand that there's going to have to be some amendments, because here we are questioning, have these things been fully explained? And I'm just not there. I am just not there.
Yeah, that's why I was a little confused on, because I was like, well, is this actually going to be something where, okay, the schools are going to do it? And then, so, I mean, she said that's what's going to happen, but maybe it's me, I didn't see that fully explained actually in the bill itself.
No, and then she tried to say that the school would do the research, and then once they have the research, it would send it to the genealogy office that's going to be housed in SB 518, and then a claimant can come raise their hand and she said, "Oh, I think," and that's the part that gets me because she says, "Oh, I think I may be." We already know that we are. So for her to belittle the whole process to me is just disgusting.
Right.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
comment I picked up on what she said is she said these claimants may not even be African
African
Americans,
American.
but they have a tie, they're able to tie their descendancy back to a person enslaved or before the 1900. So to me, that is kind of lifting. And I don't know how many of you out there watched. Which committee was it with Tina McKinnon, and she was explaining her bill
I think that
and
was AB
57.
57. Was that in the? That was either in the housing committee
On the assembly
or
side.
on the assembly side. I want to say that
Yeah,
was
that was on the assembly side. I'm not sure what
okay,
committee.
that's the housing loan bill.
Yeah, I think
But
that was in
she
the
was
housing committee.
explaining it in terms of colorism and
Oh
her
yeah, yeah.
mixed race. So what that sentence Weber Pearson just said is they may not even be African Americans, is they're already trying to include other people in this
That sounds like a race based agenda right there. To me, to me,
Mm,
because now and it was brought on by the Secretary of State when she was the assembly person that this whole thing was designed for people who are affected by a shadow slavery ancestors. We go back to our ancestors and stuff. This was not a Western Hemisphere, Africans, South Americans, or anything like that. We're talking about the things that took place here, the harms that took place here in United States of America. So, would other races be involved? Maybe by blood, maybe by blood, but does it always lead back to chattel slavery? That's the whole question here. That's
right.
the whole question here. All
But if
right.
we
Now,
just
would people who came here from these other countries, would they experience, you know, under the black experience? I do understand that. I do understand that. But well, I'm not going to comment on that part. I'll just leave it to, and this was January 2022. This was January 2022 when Dr. Shirley Weber, okay, who is now the Secretary of State of California, had mentioned lineage base. Lineage base. So
right,
now we're
right.
trying so maybe we're trying to, but some of these questions, like these have to be questioned right now. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about, a full range, of black folks, or are we just talking about the one, who family experienced these type of harms all the way back to slavery? These questions have to be answered
Right.
because now we're
But
going
that's
back in
why
that area.
if we just stick to the established genealogy practices, it should all, sort itself out. We already have experts that do that work. So
Right. Let me say, I just got this message. I'm not going to mention this person's name because I don't think it was sent to me in that form. And we are talking about SB 437. I called the the CSU Legal Affairs Office. I also mentioned that it is a violation of the California Constitution for the governor to write legislation. Okay. And this is from an attorney now. This is from an attorney. So I'm not going to mention that person's name, but I do want to thank you for sending that to me. I will definitely look behind that as well. And and this person always is available to provide me with a bevy of legal information. So
very interesting.
Good.
of course, I have to ride with that.
Thank you for that, man.
Wow.
Well, I want to play two clips because I know Senator Choa Bo, who's a Republican, Chris did in his opposition, if we recall, mention that 518 and 437 had some contradictory statements in it. So I want to play Senator Choibo's question, and then we'll go into Chris's response. And then I think we have a couple more videos, and then I want to get to the comments, and then we can go ahead and wrap up. And I also want to talk about AB 1315, where it's at right now. So let's check out Senator Choibo.
That proposed bill conflicts with your other bill that you're currently with SB 518. I was kind of curious if I could hear from you.
I don't know of any conflict, so you'd have to ask the person who stated.
Oh, okay.
That's what she brought up.
Those are the sections that specifically address Senator Choibo's question. The fact sheets for both bills say that the bills are doing the same thing. If you look at the language in the fact sheet, and if you read the bills themselves too, SB 518 creates a state bureau with a genealogy office to determine a process for how to determine lineage. SB 437 creates a research project to create a process for how to determine lineage. That is a direct conflict, literally a direct conflict. The two bills are in conflict with one another, and also respectfully, the task force, to Senator Weber's point earlier and to Senator Choibo's question, the task force recommended that the state create a state agency with a genealogy office, to create a process for those to help identify that they were descendants. They did not recommend that we do additional no start date and no end date research on how to determine who is a descendant. And that's actually what the bill does.
All right, so
and Chris was on fire, I swear. I swear.
Well, I mean, let's keep it real, fam, and if you guys want to interject. I mean, it just seems like the California Reparations Task Force gave out all these recommendations, but the CLBC is not deciding to go with those recommendations.
Well, I mean, it's put me in the frame of mind of the 1968 Kerner report. You know, did all that work, and then it was shelved. You know, this is what they're doing now to the California Reparations Task Force report. In those over 100 recommendations, they picking and choosing, and as Akilah Weber Pearson is doing, and she's interpreting it to bend her will, and and then claiming that she introduced the bill that was introduced was by her, but we clearly know that it was the amendments set forth in the last session. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous that they could even get away with this.
This is my thing, and I just want to get your thoughts on this too, Kim, Darlene, and Amoya. These bills could possibly reach the Assembly floor as well as the Senate floor. These bills right here, these two bills right here that we're speaking of, could go all the way and go all the way to the governor's desk. What do you do should these bills do reach the destinations that I just spoke about? What do you do then? Where are we at then if they become law? How do we proceed? How do we work with this? Because when I was, towards the end of the meeting, SB 437 and Swing Space Annex, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, because they voted 5-2, for the Educational Committee. It's on the way to judiciary. Is that correct, Darlene?
Yes.
Okay, and it's probably going to come out of there as well. So, but maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, because I know Chris and CJ. I know they're going to fight. I know that fight is going to go all the way until the last breath. But should we arrive there? That's something else we have to be thinking too. And I really do. What I'm getting at is, would you support it or would you not?
Well, and I think another question, Tony, that we should ask is, I mean, even if it gets to the governor's desk, And let's just, play hypothetically speaking, right? 518. If 518 doesn't pass, then could he say, "Oh, well, since 58, like he did last year, since 518 doesn't pass, well, I guess 437 isn't going to pass."
And we
I
saw
mean,
that happen with
right?
was that SB 1050? I want to say, which bill was
Yeah,
that?
the
That
eminent domain,
Yep.
eminent
bill.
domain was right. He did not get his signature because he said it was impossible without the agency,
Right,
But
right,
SB
quote
437
unquote.
is not impossible without an agency. It could stand alone.
That is true.
right.
So it doesn't say we need an agency. So, but also, I mean, this was his bill last year, so why wouldn't he sign it?
Right. And thinking about what Tony said is, if what if it does go through, it gets the signature and it becomes law. Now, I thought one of the tenets of reparations was that, the community of eligibility is the one to determine what repair should look like. And the community is clearly opposed to these two bills. So, I mean, that just brings back the question, what recourse do we have if we say the community does not want this? And we're able to show in overwhelming numbers that the community just does not support this. I mean, but I don't know. Like you said, Darlene, how can they get away with this? This is clearly not the will of the people, and they're going to do what they want to do anyway.
But I think that would be a good something that we could dig into, because I mean, it has to have had time when the community at large has tried to overturn a bill. I mean, it must be something we could do. I mean, we have Cherie here in the chat. Maybe she could tell us. Is there something that we could do? I mean, at least let them know that we disagree with this bill. Isn't it something that we could, like a recall or something? I don't know.
Something.
I
I mean,
don't know. I'm just kidding.
I know Bill's
It was
The
the
on his
recall.
recall.
blog.
Recall. I don't know.
Recall
Because
of the bill.
this $6 million is about to fly out the window. And
They
it's only
can be overturned,
right.
Darlene, but it has to go through, the scrutiny of the higher courts.
Yeah, and then and Tony, I have been asking myself that, and to be honest, I've kind of blocked it out of
Uh-huh.
my thought of what.
Yeah, I tried to avoid it too as well, Darlene.
Mhm, mhm.
But as I said towards the end of that hearing, the committee on education, and I'm hearing, yay, 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 and a couple nays, a couple no's. Like, okay, this thing could really go all the way,
Okay.
sail through all these committees and hit those floors, get the votes from the floor on the assembly side and the senate side. Boom, it's on his desk. Then what do we do next?
And another thing too, you talk about the allocation of the $6 million. It's not right now. It's going to increase the budget because the funds are already there.
Yeah,
So it's
right,
not like
right.
they're not
But
asking for additional funds.
but but there, but and we're talking about the $12 million too. But we
We're
still
talking
don't
about
know
the
what's
$12
going to
million
happen with the
dollars.
others. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
The
I'm talking
question
about
that I
the
posed too, we
initial
still don't know what's going to happen
to the
with
other
the other
six.
$6 million, right?
Yeah,
That I had
but
asked
what I'm
that
saying
question.
is that even when it gets to appropriations, they're going to pass it out because they already got the money there. It's already been budgeted in 2024, 25. The money's there, so it's not going to be
Okay.
an increase. So it's going to fly right out of appropriations,
Yeah.
and then next to the
and then what's
floor,
next?
to the floor, into his
Absolutely.
desk. Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
let me.
then what's next? Go ahead.
So I'm gonna go ahead and play the clip from the genealogist at the hearing, explaining, his perspective on, because he's a expert genealogist. So just the point that I think, just a little context that we've been saying this whole time is that we've already got experts out there. Why do we need to go to the CSU system
To essentially recreate the
right?
will, because they don't have a genealogy studies department.
Absolutely. So let's hear what the brother from the genealogist had to say. Here we go.
Today, speaking in support is Michael Willis, who's the board chair of African American Genealogical Society, and potentially Dwayne Crenshaw, if he gets here on time, who is the president of the Greater Sacramento Urban League. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished members of the Senate Education Committee, as board chair of the African American Genealogical Society of Northern California, a professional genealogist with 24 years of experience and a recently published author, I thank you for this invitation to speak with you today. In 2022, genealogist Dr. Kelly Ferris showed the task force on how to confirm an individual's status as a descendant, given that SB 518 defines the community of eligibility as the descendants of a chattel, enslaved person, or a free person of color living in the United States prior to the 19th century. Dr. Ferris proved eligibility by tracing a family back to the 1900 census and identifying a 59-year-old woman who was born 24 years before the end of slavery. And in my 24 years as a genealogist and consultant, that has typically been my experience. Even within my own personal family research, I've traced my ancestors further back to individuals in the 18th century. As I've documented in this recently published book, When Your Ancestors Choose You, Finding Binky. This is a book that's inspired by my maternal grandmother's oral history that she taught me when I was 8 years old. Now, I know that this research is a little beyond the scope and requirement of this committee's efforts, but the methodology is the same. So for decades, professional genealogists have adhered to genealogical proof standards and methodologies. And the first steps that we have individuals complete are family group sheets, where we teach them to start with themselves, work their way backwards, enter in the names, birth dates, locations of their ancestors. I even did this with a former senator and member of the task force, Senator Stephen Bradford. He followed this process, and I assisted him with uncovering 10 of his 16 two-times great-grandparents within a matter of days, and the individuals were born anywhere between 1810 and 1873. So we do this by using two family websites to enter the family data, FamilySearch.org and Ancestry.com. Those two websites contain over 50 billion records for combined records over 80 countries. And so they're the most comprehensive websites that are available on the web, and that process is incredibly efficient. So I'll open it up for questions if you have anything, but thank you again for your time and consideration today.
That was a pretty much exceptional, to me, an excellent testimony based on what I was mentioning before. And that is right. Kelly Ferris, who lives out in the Bay Area. So obviously, Senator Wilbur Pearson understand that these things can be done. Okay, so what do we need another research for when this gentleman already said, and he has consulted with Ms. Ferris, that these things is possible? He has written a book on it. We don't need no. Oh my goodness, let me stop. I get emotional about this whole thing, but he pretty much explains it. Okay, so obviously these genealogists are connected to each other, so and rightfully so. So they can understand, what they're doing when they're trying to trace down somebody's ancestors, their background, and their history. These things can be done. 24 years he's been at it, and these methods work. So I have to, in respect, give Senator Weber Pearson for bringing in this gentleman, to explain that part. So, because she does understand that these things can be done, but why the study? Why the study? Let's get this thing rolling.
Absolutely, man.
All right, and just before, Senator Bradford signed off on this as well, what this gentleman was speaking of.
And also, I just want to say, in Kim could help me with the quote here, but there was a woman in from the CSU, and she says that they haven't decided yet about the study.
Yes, they have
That's
not
a good point.
taken a
position.
Position is what
Position of it, she said. Yeah, a position about the conducting the study in the CSU.
Okay.
Yeah, she did say that. Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
So
it's
is
not easy.
so what did we? I have to go back and listen to that part. What she's saying is just not as easy as saying that. Oh, this university or this university is going to do this study unless the board of
Well, she
governors or
wasn't.
whoever
She
the
wasn't an
chancellors.
expert. No, she wasn't an expert witness. So she just had the couple of seconds at the mic, and that's just all she said.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you know what? I know we're trying to get out of here, but I do want to pull. I'm gonna share my screen because I definitely want to pull that. Am I on mute? Okay, I'm not on mute. I thought I was on mute. All right, I want to pull it. I just want to pull it up because she is from the CSU. Let me see if I could get it real quick. And she now, Darlene Kim, was she in opposition or was she in support? I can't remember. Or in terms of when
I
she went at
actually
the
have a
mic.
clip of this out on ETM Media Twitter. She was the first one to speak after the gentleman we just watched, genealogist,
Gotcha.
spoke.
Okay.
So she went up during the support section, but she said we don't have a
Have a
position.
position. Mm-hmm.
Got it. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the music here. And then if everybody, Kim, do you mind, I guess, removing the overlay? All right. Where's the screen here? All right. Can everybody see the screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. I think this is it. Let's see.
Are there any other support witnesses here in room 2100? If so, please use the microphone outside of the railing.
Morning. My name is Mary Moyle. I'm with the CSU. We are still working to finalize a position on the bill, but would like to thank the senator for working with us. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, there you go.
They're working to finalize.
Working to finalize. Not finalize. She says finalizing a position, so that's still on the fence. They're still on the fence with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they ain't 100% on board.
Right. So they just begging to give the money to the CSUs when they could just stand up the infrastructure in the CAFA office.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, family. Before we wrap up here, we got to go through the comment section. But before we go to the comment section, I did want to mention some updates on AB 1315, which is the bill that Republican Bill Asaley has authored. That's once again Assembly Bill 1315. That's a California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. We actually read the bill on ETM, so when you have a chance, you can check out. I can't remember which Road to Reparations it was, but anyway, check out one of those two shows. But you can also read the bill. Just go on to, I think it's legiinfo.com, and then do your research on AB 1315. But currently, it has not been referred. It's still pending referral, as far as I'm aware. I don't know, Kim or Darlene or Antonio, you guys might know something different. But yeah, I mean, it was supposed to actually, let's see, maybe heard in committee March 24th. So we are past March 24th, ladies and gentlemen, and the bill has yet to be referred. So I think there was a call to action, right, family, to reach out to Blanca Pacheco, who is the chair of the Rules Committee, to get this thing referred. What's going on with this, family? I mean, do you guys know anything different?
No, that's it. And actually, she was on Dominic DePrima's show on, was it Friday? Or no, Thursday. And our colleague Jan Williams was able to get in the call, and she did ask the member Blanco, why did she vote SB 437? Of course, she came back, it's the budget. it's always the worst year for the budget when it comes to our stuff. So that was her reasoning. But she gave a lot of word salad, and I loved your comment. You had the picture of the salad, and she made you hungry.
Oh,
That was pretty funny. So it's
yeah,
always
it
the
is.
budget. That's why I say it's going to slide through appropriation because they're not adding any more monies. They got this initial 6 million, and then they go back and pull that other 6.
Right.
Well, then 1315 should have no problem sliding through
Well,
appropriation.
we gotta
money.
slide it out of rules first.
Right. We gotta get it out of rules
Rules
first.
first. Yeah.
Reach out to the
Absolutely.
rules committee chair and vice
Yeah.
chair.
Mhm.
All right, family. So let's go through some of these comments here. I think we went through all the housekeeping. Yes. Oh, one more thing. Check out our Latinos getting a commission, but not American freedmen. That's here on even the Mass Media Group too. That bill is SB 388.
With member Bonta front and center, CLBC member.
Front and to the center. All right. Let's go through some of these comments. All right. Thank you, Donnie Williams, for showing up, tuning in, tapping in. Greatly appreciate it. Good brother Reggie Romaine, double R. Salute, fam. Salute to you.
Brother Reggie.
Double R in the car.
The 1619 project. That's going to be the new party.
Double R.
Brother Reggie Romaine.
Mr. Inspirationalist himself. All right. Let's see here. Queen Yasmin out in the Bay Area. What's up,
What's
family?
happening, Queen?
Great work out there. Appreciate you.
Yes.
The one and only Sharice Cryer, attorney.
Morning.
Thank you for joining.
Salute.
Hey fam, where
Salute
can we get the names of all the bill's supporters? Names of all the bill's supporters. The names of all the bill's supporters. I'm assuming we're talking about SB 437.
Most of them are attached to the text, right?
I wonder if it's come out. Has it came out yet?
And it came out. It's on the printout that we received when we were at the Capitol. But she went on to say, Keela Weber Pearson went on to say, and numerous others. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, we need to dig up. That's a good question, Sharice.
Yeah.
We'll dig up the analysis because I think they either have an analysis the day before, or I know definitely they put something.
So it's online. You go to Let's Info and click on that, and then analysis it should be right there.
Facts. Classic rebuttals, absolutely. Chris was throwing them things, boy.
I like when he said 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, he was like.
Sharice is like.
Okay, wait, you guys. I have it right here.
Oh, okay. Kim's gonna read it. These are the supporters, correct?
The sheet from the day of this education hearing, SB 437, Weber Pearson. In support, we have the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Sacramento Urban League, and Western Center on Law and Poverty. And in opposition, we have numerous individuals. Now, it seems like, the legislature is making up rules as they go along with no real rhyme or reason. We also submitted organizational letters of support, of opposition on this bill, but they said that they were not able to list them on the official document here because they did not have live signatures on them, which is a brand new rule that we had never heard before. And yeah.
Kim, are they saying a live signature or e-signature?
Well,
would have to be
somebody like signing the letter.
Yes, you have to sign the letter.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, but we have our names at the bottom.
Okay, we have our names at the bottom. We've never run into this issue before. It's never been an issue. We got in some support letters for SB 515, which is coming up, which is the disaggregation bill at the local city city and county level. And, Chris called ahead to verify, do we need to, put signatures on these? We want our information listed in support of these bills. And they said, no, you do not. So I guess it's going to be on a case by case basis, and you just have to figure out when they want you to sign on the dotted
Well,
line.
you're saying it that way. I'm saying it this way. They just didn't want any organizations in opposition to be placed on the official analysis. That's just, it's not even a conspiracy theory to me. It's just like you do this, but then you okay with the other one. They're picking and choosing.
Picking and choosing. Cherie says, I called Akila's office and they claimed they rewatched the hearing on genealogy topic, but they still misquoted the recommendations on purpose.
Absolutely.
Reggie says
there might be something that they might have to come back and clear up so the public can truly understand, especially these lawmakers that they're going in front of as far as these committees too. So we'll see what happens on that.
All right. It doesn't make any sense to give our reparations money to a Cal State school that has Black history already and is getting funded. There's no genealogy study in CSUs in California. As far as we are aware, that is correct. They're trying to funnel funds to CSUDH to try and save it.
This is what they're talking about right here. Let me just explain this too before we sign off here. CSU responsible for research, recommendation, and annual reporting. This bill seeks to advance task force recommendations by identifying CSU as the entity to investigate and develop ways to confirm an individual's descendant status. That's basically the bottom line of SB 437.
All right.
Just to get everybody a good, clear understanding, in black and white.
Freeman Bureau field officers
and you're telling me, Brother Amoya, that there's not one campus out of the 23 school system that has a genealogy department?
No, none. No programs, no
curriculum, nothing. Okay.
No. All right.
You need to make a shirt about that, Moya.
No, right?
Yeah, I mean, how clear can you get that they just taking the money?
Right.
Freedmen Bureau field officers have all documents from the Civil War. Put that with your DNA from Ancestry, JetMatch, Family Search, Wiki, etc., etc.
Yeah. My birth certificate say Negro. Cut the check.
That's what it says. Negro. Cut.
You ain't got to search no more, huh? No more.
No more study.
No more study. No more study.
Oh, that's funny. Mr. Willis was sitting on the wrong side. He was speaking in our defense.
I don't think Pearson, Weber Pearson got exactly what she wanted from this gentleman. So not exactly, because he never said the word hard or it's going to be a struggle or some people not going to be able to find. Did he say that? I have to listen to it.
No, he said it'd take 2 days.
It'd take 2 days.
So
if that, and you have a pretty interesting genealogy story, Darlene. Could you kind of tell us so we can see how not difficult it is, if you'd like.
Oh, sure. Are you talking about the maternal or the paternal that I just recently discovered? Paternal. Okay, this one, we are from Culverton, Louisiana, and my great-great-grandma was a Creole. She was a free person of color. Will probably be the only time you hear me say that. In 1826, there was folklore that she, as a free person of color, was able to purchase her slave husband on the Dixon plantation, and she did. So she purchased him, and we know that all through history, we hear that all the time, that when a person is, even in the slave estates, when one spouse becomes free, they continues to save money to purchase the rest of their family. Well, this was sort of what happened, but my great great grandma, she was already a free person. And so it's been documented in a book called The Covetons of Louisiana. And they were able to purchase land there. And she was illiterate, so they have documentation that she signed an X on her land that she had purchased in Louisiana. And so that's where I stem from. And it dates back to 1826.
Wow, thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
darling. You went deep
Yeah,
on
I
that.
appreciate
You know,
that.
that kind
Yeah.
of remind me of the Gooch Monroe story here up in Gold Country. Didn't she save up enough money to free her family and brought them back out
Mhm.
here? And one of them was Pearlie Monroe when he was a young kid,
I mean,
back from one of those southern states.
it happens all the time. I mean, there's documentation from that former slaves purchased their family. I mean, we were bought and paid for. There's documentation about us everywhere. It just mine
Yeah.
happens to be in a book. First we
Right.
always heard it through growing up. Then this woman in Covington, Louisiana, she actually wrote a book about it. And I just happened to be visiting Covington, Louisiana's website, and I saw that book, and I hurried up and got it. And my family is mentioned right there, that the roads of Coverton are Hodes, and they were there. And I haven't done any more research on it, but the roads have been there since the last notable time was 1986, where they worked with the comedian, what's his name, Richard Pryor, in a movie called Skin Game. And so I have documentation about that.
Oh
And
yes, yes, I
yeah, he
remember that movie.
supported it. Yeah, so yeah.
I think Lou Gossett Jr. is in that film too, right?
I'm not sure. I have to look at the work, but I believe it is, and it was sponsored by Richard Pryor. So yeah.
Right.
Well, Darlene, you're lucky to have all that wonderful history documented. But
hmm
what about, finding your ancestors when you don't have all of that
Well,
information?
I think that it starts, like someone even said, a family Bible starts with a name. If you still have any seniors that are capable to tell you anything about their past history, get at them now, because there come a time where they're just not going to remember anymore. You
Okay.
know, so start there and start with a name. I did not know who I mean, I knew a name of my biological father. I gave it to a genealogist. Bam! I got everything I need to know about my father.
You
See?
know, I remember just recently because I'm still working on this too. But Friday Jones had mentioned to me that the Mormon Church is a Mormon facility in Southern California that
Yes.
offer research for
Classes.
free,
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
free.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think at least I'm mindful of it too. Like I said, I'm working on the story too, so we can start working these alongside of these, these reparation activities and things. But if you're
Well, they
offering it for
wanted
free,
to.
would anybody need $6 million? We can use that money for something else.
Well, I know for sure Queen Yasmin took a group of seniors to. I really want to say it was part of the Mormon Church or somewhere, and they conducted a class for them. So I mean, it's there. It's just part of, to me. They just don't want to give us our just due. Oh, it's so difficult. We know who we are.
Right. They're just kicking it down the road. And
Okay,
again,
yeah.
when you go back and you read 437, SB 437, you see that there is excessive reporting every year. We got to have a report on how we're going to do this. I mean, it's clearly a stall tactic. And you more, I know Camilla didn't show up today. I know she's working. Um, but can we watch that clip from the task force just so we can take a look at what happened?
All right, and do we want to give some context before we play it, and then play it and then give context?
Play it and then give context.
All right, let's go.
I want to entertain a motion to delete the sentence from page 39, as the DOJ already deleted that same sentence from another part of the report last year. So we need to complete that by deleting the sentence on page 39. You want to entertain a motion on that? Sure. Name changes, destruction of culture, inaccurate records, forced family separation, and other consequences of 400 years of racial oppression make it extremely difficult to trace which Black individuals living today are American descendants of people who were enslaved. Question is called. I'll turn to Parliamentarian Johnson for a roll call vote.
I will begin the roll call beginning with the chairman. Chair Moore.
Aye.
Chair Moore votes aye. Vice Chair Brown.
Aye.
Vice Chair Brown votes aye. Member Bradford. Member Bradford. Abstain. Member Grills. Member Grills votes no. No. Member Holder. Member Holder abstains. Member Jones Sawyer. No. Member Jones Sawyer votes no. Member Lewis. Yes. Member Lewis votes aye. Member Montgomery Stepp. Aye. Member Montgomery Stepp votes aye. Member Tamaki. Aye. Member Tamaki votes aye. Madam Chair, there were 9 members present and voting. There were 4 ayes, 2 abstentions, and that is correct. There are 5 ayes, there are 2 abstentions, and 2 nays.
I mean, I think the context is pretty self-explanatory. They removed the sentence that said it's going to be so hard, so I don't know why we need this forever study.
And the fact that we were there properly, every birth, death, and sale was recorded. Come on.
Very good points. Very good point.
Yeah.
All right. I think
that would have been a sentence in the task force report that she would have been able to point to and say, this is why. But the sentence was removed for rightful reasons.
And so now she's stretching with this research stuff. I mean, for her to be a bright woman, this is really going to turn out to be an egg on her face.
Yep.
So thank you for playing that so we can, kind of tie this all together as to why SB 437 is unnecessary.
Cherie says real quick before we leave, there's a clip of me saying if the harms remedies are broken up, the legislature is going to pick and choose what bills they like and which ones they don't.
Yeah.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. All right, so that's it for today. So we appreciate everybody's time into this matter. We definitely unpacked it as much as we possibly could. I mean, technically, I know they do some of those videos on YouTube where they actually watch videos and they be on for 3-4 hours critiquing, start and stopping that stuff. So we definitely didn't want to do that. But if you have a chance, really sit down and watch SB 437 to get further insight. If you feel like this video doesn't unpack enough, you can definitely watch that. But we're still going to be making sure that we cover these bills. And also with AB 1315, we definitely got to follow up with that because that needs to be referred, period, to something somewhere. Like SB, was it 518 was the Bureau bill? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Kim, Darlene, Antonio, do you have anything to say before we wrap up here?
The only thing I have, is, once again, should these bills, SB 518 and SB 437, ride all the way to the governor's desk, what will we do now? That don't have to be answered now, but definitely something to be mindful. I know we don't want to think in those terms, but it's highly likely that these bills will make it there. And I will say peace, love, and solidarity from there. I love you all.
All right, Darlene Kim.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for their time and spending part of their morning with us, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And I'll just say, as Tony mentioned, these bills are headed to Senate Judiciary. So that's going to be the next call to action. And I know I'll still be there in opposition.
Kim had to throw that in.
No doubt about that, Kim. I know that. Yes.
Let us know how
that is noted.
Duly noted. All right, family. Well, thanks everyone for joining. As always, be safe, family, with your family and your loved ones. And we will see you next time right here on Emend, the Mass Media Group. As always, we are out. Peace and definitely lineage-based reparations.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace out.
The way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million. And then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.